You see, there are some wounds you carry that nobody knows about. Some conversations whispered behind closed doors. Some betrayals that happened in the dark corners where no spotlight could shine. They smiled in your face, but their daggers were sharpened when your back was turned. They thought their secret scheme would suffocate your destiny. But what they forgot is this: the God who watches in the shadows is also the God who reveals in the light. When you talk about secret pain and silent betrayal, you're touching a place that many people live in, but few people ever dare to speak about, because the truth is, not all wounds are visible. Not all scars can be seen. There are some battles that are fought behind the closed doors of your heart, where no one claps for your survival, where no one cheers for your endurance, where no one even knows that you're fighting. It is in those hidden places that betrayal cuts the deepest, because you cannot even explain to others what you feel. It's not the kind of pain you can post on a billboard. It's the kind of pain you bury under a smile, the kind of pain that wakes you up in the middle of the night, when everything is quiet and you're left with the echo of their words or the sting of their actions. They hurt you in secret, in conversations you were never invited into, in plots you never had a chance to defend yourself against. And that's the cruelty of secret pain. It's not just the act itself. It's the loneliness of knowing you were wounded without anyone to bear witness to it. You know the kind of betrayal I'm talking about. The kind that doesn't show up in headlines, but shows up in the hesitation of your trust. The kind that doesn't leave bruises on your skin, but leaves a shadow on your soul. The kind that makes you question yourself, makes you replay moments wondering if you misheard, misunderstood, or misjudged. Silent betrayal is suffocating because it tricks you into isolation. It convinces you that no one could possibly understand. And because it happened in secret, it whispers in your mind that maybe you're overreacting. Maybe it's not as bad as it feels. Maybe you should just swallow it and move on. But the ache lingers. The cut remains. Because betrayal is not measured by how loud it is. It's measured by how deep it goes. There are people who were supposed to cover you, but they exposed you. People who were supposed to protect you, but they neglected you. People who spoke one way to your face, but another way behind your back. That kind of hurt doesn't just strike at your emotions, it strikes at your identity. Because when trust is broken, it makes you question your worth. Silent betrayal makes you wonder why you weren't enough, why your loyalty wasn't valued, why your name wasn't defended. And yet, in the middle of that pain, you have to remind yourself that just because they didn't honor you doesn't mean you're not honorable. Just because they didn't see your value doesn't mean you're not valuable. And just because they whispered against you in secret doesn't mean heaven has gone silent about you. It's in those secret places where God does his most intimate work. Because while they were plotting behind closed doors, God was standing with you in your private tears while they were weaving lies in the dark. God was already preparing a light to reveal the truth. While you were crying yourself to sleep, he was bottling every tear. Silent betrayal has a way of stripping away the false securities we build on people, and it drives us to the one who cannot lie, cannot fail, cannot betray. Sometimes the silence of others is the invitation for us to discover the voice of God more clearly. And the voice of God always reminds you that no wound is wasted, no betrayal is overlooked, no tear is ignored. Think about it. If betrayal was loud, if it was public, If everyone knew about it, then your fight would have been to defend yourself in the sight of men. But because it was silent, it forced you to take it to God. And in doing so, he became your defender. He became your comfort. He became your healer. Secret pain may have broken your heart, but it gave you an intimacy with God that could not have been developed any other way. Sometimes he allows hidden battles because he wants you to experience him as a hidden refuge. Silent betrayal also becomes the soil where resilience is planted. It toughens your spirit in ways applause never could. It teaches you how to endure when there is no validation, how to keep standing when no one is clapping, how to believe in your worth when no one is affirming it. And though it hurts, it is also holy, because it is in the secret pain that your faith is purified. It is there that your motives are tested. It is there that your strength is built. You cannot see it now, but the very wound that was meant to break you is the same wound God will use to bless you. Because the deeper the cut, the greater the healing. The darker the secret, the brighter the light when God exposes the truth. And though nobody else may know the depth of what they did, heaven knows, and heaven keeps records, and heaven knows how to turn secret pain into public victory. When you understand God as your vindicator, you begin to see life through a different lens. You stop obsessing over how to prove yourself to people. You stop rehearsing how to clap back. You stop strategizing about how to expose those who hurt you, because you recognize that there is a higher judge who presides over the courtroom of your destiny. The enemy loves to operate in the shadows, to wound you in places where no one else can see, to lie about you in spaces where you have no defense, to scheme against you in silence. But while the enemy is busy orchestrating secrets, God is already preparing revelation. And when God chooses to vindicate you, he doesn't need your permission. He doesn't need their approval, and he doesn't need evidence from human witnesses, because he himself is the witness who sees it all, the judge who rules over it all, and the Father who cares enough to step in on your behalf. Vindication means that what was done against you in darkness will eventually be brought into light. It means that lies lose their power, that plots lose their strength, that hidden wounds will not remain hidden forever. You may have been broken in secret, but you will be healed in public. You may have been slandered in whispers, but you will be honored in the open. The vindication of God is not a quiet thing. It is an announcement. It is the moment when truth becomes louder than lies, when justice overtakes deception, when the hand of God reveals what the hand of man tried to conceal. Think about Joseph, who was thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned because of false accusations. All of this happened away from the spotlight, in secret, in places where he had no advocate, no defender, no ally. And yet, when the time was right, God elevated him from the prison to the palace, and the very brothers who betrayed him had to come face to face with the reality of his vindication. That is how God works. He doesn't just restore you in private. He restores you in a way that those who tried to bury you cannot deny that his hand is upon you. Vindication is not about revenge. It's about restoration. It's about God setting the record straight. It's about him showing that your suffering was not wasted, that your integrity was not in vain, that your tears were not ignored. The problem with trying to vindicate yourself is that you will always come up short. If you try to defend yourself, you'll look defensive. If you try to prove your worth, you'll look desperate. If you try to expose your enemies, you'll look petty. But when God vindicates you, no one can argue with it. No one can deny it. No one can undo it. Because when he lifts you up, it is clear that you didn't get there by manipulation or retaliation, but by the power of his hand. There is something powerful about being still and letting God fight for you. There is something liberating about saying, I don't need to respond to every lie. I don't need to retaliate for every betrayal. I don't need to prove myself to people who were determined not to believe in me anyway. There is peace in releasing the battle into God's hands. Because while you are stressing about how to fix it, God is already orchestrating how to reveal it. And when he reveals it, he does it in such a way that even those who spoke against you will have to acknowledge that his favor rests on your life. Vindication also means that God's timing is better than yours. You may want immediate justice, but immediate justice doesn't always produce lasting results. Sometimes God allows the lies to circulate. Sometimes he allows the betrayal to sting. Sometimes he allows the whispers to spread, not because he's absent, but because he's building a stage for your elevation. He lets it go on long enough that when he steps in, no one can deny it was him. If he vindicated you too quickly, people would call it coincidence. If he vindicated you too quietly, people would miss the miracle. But when he vindicates you in his timing, it is undeniable, unshakable, unquestionable. What you have to understand is that every secret attack against you is already known in heaven. Every hidden scheme has already been recorded by God. And because he is just, he will not allow you to remain under the weight of lies forever. He will lift you. He will restore you. He will honor you. And when he does it, it won't just silence your enemies. It will amplify his glory, because vindication is not just about proving you right. It's about proving that he is God and no weapon formed against you can prosper. Every hidden tear is a seed. That means that what you cry about in private, what you release in the dark, what you whisper in the silence of your own soul is not wasted. It may feel like your tears fall into emptiness, like they evaporate into nothingness, like no one sees them or values them. But the truth is, every tear is collected, every drop is recorded, and every cry becomes a seed planted into the soil of your destiny. People may not see it, people may not understand it, but God has a way of transforming silent sorrow into future harvest. Think about the way seeds work. When you put a seed into the ground, it disappears. You don't see it. You don't celebrate it. You don't applaud it. You cover it with dirt and you walk away. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not working. The seed is breaking open. The seed is pushing down roots. The seed is preparing to sprout. That's how tears work. They fall in secret places. They soak into the soil of your pain. They disappear from the sight of men, but they are working. They are germinating. They are preparing something powerful. Every hidden tear is pregnant with potential. Every secret cry is carrying life. You may think your tears only represent weakness, but they are actually watering your strength. You may assume your pain is only loss, but it's actually producing gain, because the places where you've wept the hardest will often become the places where you reap the greatest. That heartbreak that broke you down will become the testimony that builds you up. That rejection that cut you will become the redirection that positioned you. Those nights when your pillow was soaked in grief will one day give birth to mornings where your smile is saturated with joy. Because nothing in God is wasted, and especially not your tears. It's easy to despise your tears, to see them as signs that you're fragile, that you're broken, that you're not strong enough. But what if your tears are not weakness? What if they are strategy? What if every time you cried, heaven was irrigating the soil of your future? What if every time you wept, you were unknowingly watering the roots of something greater than you could imagine? Sometimes the greatest crops come from the deepest cries. Sometimes the most powerful fruit comes from the most painful sowing. And though nobody celebrates tears, they are the secret currency of breakthrough. There are places in your life right now that are watered with silent tears. Times when you cried about being overlooked, about being betrayed, about being misunderstood, about carrying weight that no one else knew you were carrying. You tried to be strong for everyone else, but when the lights went out, you broke in ways nobody saw. And yet, those very tears are the reason you're still standing. They softened your heart when bitterness tried to harden it. They kept you humble when pride tried to rise up. They cleansed your soul when anger tried to poison it. Your tears were not wasted. They were washing you, shaping you, preparing you. Every hidden tear is also a prayer. Even when you couldn't find the words, your tears were speaking. When your voice was too broken to form sentences, your tears became your intercession. And the God who interprets groans, the God who understands sighs, the God who reads the language of tears was listening. He knew what you were saying, even when you couldn't articulate it. And he didn't just hear your tears, he planted them. He made them part of your story. And the harvest he's preparing for you will not just be blessing, it will be evidence that your crying season was never in vain. The world doesn't value tears, but heaven does. The world says hide your pain, but heaven says I collect it. The world says crying makes you weak, but heaven says crying makes you ready. Because if you never wept, you would never understand joy. If you never mourned, you would never value peace. If you never carried pain, you would never recognize healing. Every tear you've shed has been a seed in the soil of your purpose. And when the time comes, that seed will bear fruit so abundantly that the very places you once wept will become the places you celebrate. And the ground that once drank your tears will one day release your harvest. When God prepares a table, he does not set it in secret places. He spreads it in the open fields. The scripture says he prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies, which means the feast is not hidden, the banquet is not covered, the blessing is not disguised. It is laid out where everyone can see it, including those who doubted you, those who betrayed you, those who laughed at you when you were down, and those who thought you would never recover. The table is not just about nourishment. It is about demonstration. It is God's way of showing that no matter what they tried to do in secret, his hand of favor rests on you publicly. There is something powerful about a public table because it means the vindication is visible. The ones who whispered against you in the shadows now have to watch you walk into opportunities that they cannot deny. The ones who said you were finished have to stand still while God elevates you to a level they never expected. A table in the presence of your enemies is not just about your victory. It is about their education. It teaches them that they do not control your destiny, that they cannot cancel your calling, that they cannot block the hand of God on your life. Every seat at the table becomes a testimony that what he opens, no man can shut. And then there is the crown. Because when God crowns you, he does it in such a way that your authority, your identity, Your purpose is unmistakable. A crown is not worn in silence. It is visible from afar. It announces who you are. It affirms your worth. It establishes your position. When he crowns you in public, it is so the very people who tried to strip you of honor will see that honor has been restored. Those who mocked you will have to watch you walk in dignity. Those who left you for dead will have to witness your resurrection. The crown is not about arrogance. It is about evidence. It is God showing the world that he has the final say over your story. Public tables and public crowns are uncomfortable for some because we would rather God bless us quietly. We say, Lord, just fix it for me. I don't need them to see it. But God says, no, I will make them see it, because what they did was not just against you. It was against my purpose in you. And when I restore you, it won't just be for your relief. It will be for my glory. That's why he prepares the table in their presence. That's why the crown is visible, because it is not just about satisfying your hunger or soothing your wounds. It is about declaring his sovereignty. The beauty of the public table is that it turns the place of your pain into the place of your promotion. The same workplace where you were overlooked becomes the place where you are celebrated. The same family that mocked your dreams becomes the audience that watches them come true. The same community that whispered about your failure becomes the crowd that sees your restoration. The table is not moved away from your enemies. It is set in their presence, because the testimony is greater when those who doubted you are forced to witness what God has done in your life. There is also a lesson in patience here, because you cannot rush a table being prepared. Preparation takes time. It means while they were talking about you, God was setting plates. While they were plotting against you, God was arranging chairs. While they were trying to shut you out, God was designing a banquet that they cannot avoid. And when the moment comes, when the table is ready, it will not be a snack, it will be a feast. Not just a crumb, but a full course meal. Because when God blesses you publicly, he does it abundantly. The crown also teaches you humility, because when he lifts you up, you will remember where you came from. When he honors you, you will recall the nights you cried in secret. When he places the crown on your head, you will know that you did not earn it. You were chosen for it. That awareness keeps your heart soft while your head is high. It reminds you that the crown is not for vanity, it is for visibility. It is not for boasting, it is for bearing witness. It is a sign that God can take the rejected and make them rulers, that he can take the mocked and make them mighty, that he can take the wounded and make them winners. So when the table is prepared, sit without fear. When the crown is placed, wear it without apology, because it is not just your table, it is his table. It is not just your crown, it is his crown on you. And when he sets it in public, it is so that all who once tried to keep you in secret pain will see undeniable evidence of his power and his promise working in your life. The betrayal wasn't meant to break you, but to position you for greater. That's a hard truth to accept when you're still wiping the tears from your face, when you're still piecing together the fragments of your heart, when you're still trying to understand why people you trusted could cut you so deeply. Betrayal feels like it is designed to destroy you, like it was orchestrated to leave you empty, abandoned, forgotten. But if you step back and look again, you'll begin to see that what the enemy intended for harm, God intended for positioning. The wound they gave you became the push you needed. The door they slammed in your face became the direction you never would have chosen on your own. The abandonment you experienced created the room for you to discover an identity that wasn't tied to their approval. What they meant for evil, heaven was quietly turning into strategy. Sometimes the betrayal was necessary because if they hadn't left you, you never would have moved forward. If they hadn't pushed you out, you never would have discovered what was waiting on the other side. If they hadn't rejected you, you would have stayed stuck in a place too small for your destiny. Betrayal hurts, yes, but it also reveals. It reveals who really stands with you. It reveals what really matters to you. It reveals how much strength you really have inside of you. The betrayal wasn't sent to define you. It was sent to refine you. It stripped away what you thought you needed so you could see that God is all you truly need. Look at how betrayal often comes before breakthrough. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, but without their betrayal, he never would have found himself in Egypt, and without Egypt, he never would have stepped into the palace. Jesus was betrayed by Judas, but without Judas, the cross wouldn't have been set in motion, and without the cross, redemption would not have been fulfilled. David was betrayed by Saul, hunted and hated, but without Saul's pursuit, David never would have discovered the strength of hiding in caves, never would have learned how to depend on God's presence, never would have been shaped into the king Israel needed. Over and over, betrayal precedes elevation. Pain becomes the passport to purpose. When betrayal happens, it shifts your perspective. It teaches you not to place all your trust in people, but to anchor it in God. It forces you to stop depending on the applause of men and start drawing strength from the presence of God. Betrayal reveals the fragile nature of human loyalty, but magnifies the unchanging nature of divine faithfulness. You may have been wounded by the inconsistency of people, but that wound taught you to stand on the consistency of God. And in the end, you'll discover that the betrayal didn't break you. It broke your dependence on what could never sustain you in the first place. Positioning often feels painful because it uproots you from where you were comfortable. You thought you were settled. You thought you were safe. And then betrayal ripped you out of the nest. But what feels like cruelty is often mercy. Because if you had stayed where you were, you would have been limited, you would have been small, you would have been stifled. Betrayal stretched you. It made you grow in ways you never expected. It pulled you into arenas you didn't even know existed. It forced you to find courage, to find resilience, to find your voice. Without the betrayal, you might still be in the same place, waiting for permission from people who were never going to give it to you. The pain of betrayal teaches you discernment. You no longer hand your heart out recklessly. You no longer mistake proximity for loyalty. You no longer confuse smiles for sincerity. The betrayal that was designed to shatter you actually sharpened you. Now you see more clearly. Now you sense more deeply. Now you guard more wisely. And though it hurt you, it also helped you. Though it wounded you, it also prepared you. Though it seemed like the end of something, it was really the beginning of something greater. The betrayal wasn't meant to end you. It was meant to send you into purpose, send you into growth, send you into greater dependence on God. And the more you look back, the more you'll see that every dagger in your back was a divine push forward. Every closed door was an open pathway to destiny. Every heartbreak was a hidden rerouting. You didn't miss out because of the betrayal. You stepped into alignment because of it. thought they were breaking you, but really they were breaking you free. They thought they were pushing you down, but really they were pushing you into place. The betrayal was not a burial, it was a bridge carrying you from where you were into the greater that was waiting for you.